I'm good. I'm gonna blame their energy on the weather. It's been kind of sad lately here. It's been kind of rainy. I'm so sorry, John. I didn't realize what an intense intro I made for you with the panel that I chose. I'm super excited about this panel. All of these people I have met in Google Plus, and every single one of them are just fantastic. We will miss Linda, but she is touring with the All Stars, and she's just crazy busy right now, which is going to keep me busy on Wednesday. But I am happy with who I have today because each of them represents a different side of business, but each of them deals with communication and technology today. And I think that they are all on the cutting edge of what it means to communicate through technology today for the sake of business. In Annabelle's situation, that's education, but education can be considered a business too. And she's a nonprofit. For nonprofits, this can be a really difficult transition. So what I want each of you to do is, and this might take a little bit of time, but I would like each of you to talk about where you kind of started in business and how you got to where you are today, because I think it'll be interesting to see how you've transitioned with technology. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, let's start with let's start with Yifat because she's the next one next to me that I see.
Hello, hello. I'm always muted because I'm in Starbucks, so apologies for the noise. I'm testing the Google Starbucks Wi-Fi. It looks like it's working.
That's all right. It's ambiance. It's ambiance. So, where did you start before you became the G Plus go-to gal?
Where did I start? Um, I graduated from college in Austin. I decided that I don't want to work for anyone ever again because I helped build a company and I was fired. So, which was awesome because it taught me that A, I can build a company, and B, I don't need to do it for anyone else. And so after I graduated college, I started dabbling actually with network marketing and the internet. And then Google invited me to test Google Plus in beta, and I was one of the first 100 people to do that. And it really felt like a family. I think Larry was there, I think, from the beginning also. And we started testing it and playing with it and seeing what works and what doesn't work and what happens when I block you and what happens when I ignore you. And then Hangouts came to be, and we started a Hangout show for entrepreneurs. And we were the first ones to get access for Hangouts on air, and we're all shy on camera. I used to be a black man because I was embarrassed to be on camera. And then people started asking me, how do I do the things I do? And how do I do it? And wow, you have so many followers, or you're doing, you get engagement, you have Hangouts, how do you do Hangouts? And so like any other business, you start being passionate about something, people see that you like it and you're good at it, and they ask you how, to teach them, and a business is born. So nothing planned really.
So you kind of fell into it and you went with wherever you saw the technology was going.
I fell in love with the relationships, and I started bugging people about Google Plus like when it was first in beta. And even now, when I go to Austin, any networking events from people who know me for 3 years ago, they're like, okay, she's going to drag you into Google Plus. She's going to suck you in. So I fell in love with the platform, and I think that's the important part. Is like when you do something that you can't shut up about, that you want the whole world to know that like, oh my God, this is so awesome and it will help you. You're on the right track. And even though Larry is really tired, I keep bringing him in because he has kind of like a very similar story. He fell in love with cooking, and he's a chef now, a very well followed, over 1 million followers on Google Plus because of a passion that he has. So I think that's where it is. Like you find the passion, something that wakes you up in the morning, and you're so good at it that everybody's asking you, how do I do the same thing? And you got a business.
Interesting, interesting. Well, since you keep bringing up Larry, let's move to
Let's go to
Larry.
Larry.
Hello, 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 hello.
Our tired birthday boy.
Yes, 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 yes. But I'm a trooper. I'm a trooper. I will perform.
I'm
But
sure you will.
uh, like like Ifat, I came on in the earlies, but my start was really in computer science because that's what I got my degree in, and I worked at Baltimore Gas and Electric for quite a few years and doing IT. And I also had a passion for cooking. So when Google Plus came on the scene, I joined in their beta, and there was this great thing called Hangouts, which you pop in and you meet all these wonderful people like EFAT and the early adopters, as they say. So then they introduced Hangouts on Air, which essentially you can broadcast live on YouTube, and it will be seen throughout the whole internet because everybody goes on YouTube. And I followed my passion, which is cooking. When I yeah when I came onto Google Plus, I was posting pictures of my food and posting food related stuff because that was really my passion. But my tech background, I was able to marry that with Hangouts on Air because I got it. I saw the advantage of using Hangouts to broadcast my message, which is my cooking, and the rest, as they say, is history. I was able to um, get my message out, also showcase other people who have the same sort of passion, foodies. I focused on some folks that I wanted to showcase on their platform and introduce the community to these great folks who are doing some really wonderful things, and that allowed me the platform allowed me to showcase them, and they went on to do what they do best, which is cook, and they have their own shows now. So um, the I love the platform. Like Ifat said, this is a great. It's one of the greatest things I think that came out of Google, right? And you can now build a community around an interest, around people, and you get the followers that are really passionate as you are about whatever your interest is. And that's the beauty I think about Google Plus. Whatever your interests are, you can get people to rally around, or they rally around you, and you could take that stuff to the next level. So I think on the communication side of it, since this is a communication class, um, this helps communicate whatever your messages are or your message is. It's a beautiful place to get it out to the world.
Absolutely. And it sounds like it almost was a career change for you.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the interesting thing. And like if I said, it wasn't planned. None of this stuff is planned. Meeting Jim, meeting John, meeting you, it just come together organically, and you gravitate. Oh, it pulls you into the direction where you can really grow your passion and make money in the process. So yeah, business models can be formed from this. And my you okay? I do cooking in real life. That is my job. I private chef and cook for folks, but I spend most of my time here on Google Plus. Yeah, forging alliances, forging friendships, and forging new businesses.
Right. Well, I imagine your over 1 million followers keep you pretty busy.
Well, the followers, those are numbers, but I I get passionate, and that's good. I am very thankful for those folks who follow me, and for Google allowing me the opportunity to get those followers. But what I really like about it is connecting and building relationships with the people. Because you realistically you can't um, engage with a million people. That's virtually impossible. But I might have about 150 people, 150 people who I communicate with regularly, who reshare my stuff, who I reshare their stuff here on Google Plus. And you build that strength, you build that camaraderie, and I think that is the most important thing. The numbers are nice, but I think the relationships that you build here are even nicer because it could take you in directions you wouldn't even dream of.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. We'll return to that because I think
Mhm.
that's a good topic to talk about. But let's move on to Jim Shankle, who I think has a really it's really interesting to hear how you got here, Jim.
Yeah, I know it. Well, as the saying goes, I was born as a young child in South Arkansas. Um, to jump to the present, and then I'll back into it. I'm in Northwest Arkansas, which is the world's largest concentration of brands. It's the headquarters for Walmart, Tyson Foods, and JB Hunt Transportation. So we have, as a result of Walmart, there's 1,400 Walmart suppliers that are here, the big consumer packaged goods companies. So what I do is my main work is investment banking and venture capital in that space. But what my passion is helping entrepreneurs pursue their passion. So, I'm really enjoying helping bring some of the Google Plus community into some of the deals that I'm working on. So that to me is a lot of fun. I'm a deal maker. I used to work for the world's probably most successful deal maker, a self-made billionaire down in Dallas who was in the golf business, club and resort business, and so we own properties like Pinehurst Resort in North Carolina and Barton Creek in Austin, and just 250 resorts and clubs. But going back a little bit, one of the things that to recognize and is that I'm 65, so I mean, I got way too much I can say, and will bore everybody to death with it. Typical baby boomer who wants to tell the rest of the world how to operate. But I got started in banking, and then just really always wanted to have a passion for getting involved in unique, creative kinds of things. So, I mean, for resume purposes, you can go to my Google Plus profile, but I've done everything from getting involved in the trucking business to real estate development, big project in California and San Diego, La Jolla. Paid $40 million for 50 acres unzoned, so I took that through zoning and planning. But really, as it relates to what I'm doing now and how I got here, the Club Corp was very influential, but when it came to the technology part of things, back in about the mid to late 90s, the .com business hadn't quite really exploded the way it had. My sister in Memphis had a friend who had joined a little company. They knew him when he was with IBM and FedEx, and she got a few founder shares in a little company called Netscape, and their friend was Jim Barksdale, and all of a sudden she did quite well when that went public, and I looked up and discovered this thing called the internet and said, Lord, it's passing me by, so I gotta get involved. So a buddy of mine is a telecom consultant, and I created something that was called telecomhelp.com, and this was before Roadrunner and high-speed internet. And we created what now is called a blog, but that then was called an e-zine, to be able to write material to bring people into a two-sided platform that would be to be able to get bids for telecom equipment. So we were, buyers and sellers of equipment, and obviously it was a huge failure, but it was fun. We were way ahead of our time in a lot of ways, and I learned a bunch of stuff. But it was intriguing to see what was going on, and so I began to see it at that point. Never really got that actively involved, other than just to kind of stay in touch. And then I moved up here to Northwest Arkansas about 11 years ago, and got involved doing deals in the Walmart supplier community. And we started what I do is I do what I call opportunity development. I listen for frustration, and to me, when I hear frustration, that means that there's opportunity. Because if I can help solve that person's problem, then that means that there's a market opportunity that potentially could be there. Plus, frankly, I just like to help. So if I can, I always like to give first. So if I can help somebody else. So there was a particular deal, I won't go into details, but we ended up putting together a company called Shallow Technologies, which does retail link analysis, Walmart retail link, their point of sale data analysis for the Walmart supplier community, because one of my partners is an executive search firm who put most of the vendors, he's dominant up here, so he put most of the suppliers into their jobs, and was quite responsible for a lot of those vendors even coming to town. So he could tee up meetings easily, and then we did that, and then we did a program called Doing Business in Bentonville, which is best practices in Walmart suppliers, or Walmart being able to talk to Walmart suppliers about how they wanted things to happen. So did that, and then I started probably about 5 years ago, I started getting into the social media side of things. I started teaching MBA marketing strategies as an adjunct for a couple of schools here, to Walmart suppliers and to Walmart employees, and about 4 years ago, I guess, began to see this thing happening called social media, and just didn't get it. I mean, but I knew my students needed to have it. The textbooks were 3 years out of date when they're published, so there's not a lot in there. So I began to bring various parts of that in there, and until last September, when somebody told me to look at Google Plus and access, I mentioned it, we found that she was, they told me that she was the one I needed to start with watching to really learn how to do this stuff. I came on the platform, and I finally got it. I began to get it and see how this thing could apply to business when it came to digital marketing. Facebook, sort of, but it just never got to me. And Twitter, so I got to know some people, David Amerland and Martin Shervington and Ronnie Benser, and we'd get together a couple of weeks and talk about how do we create some, really help bring the suppliers into the community and sponsorships and that. And we did a project called Crafty Cooking, which was taking macaroni and cheese and doing that. And that's how I met Larry, because Larry was brought in as one of the 5 chefs that we had, Chef Dennis Lintley. And we did a really interesting program on that to show how creative people could be. And Larry and I became friends and buddies, and started just saying, hey, there's got to be some opportunities here. Larry's really creative as a producer, understands IT. And then he introduced me to John 3 months ago, and we started talking about how we could bring some interesting technologies. So we started kicking around this idea called engagement broadcasting, which is, I like to say, it's television that talks back. It's really bringing the interactive nature of interesting activities, experiences, stories, other things, the reason why people pay attention. And that's why what Annabelle did was so fascinating to me. And I got to know her a little bit, and we did something at Razorback Stadium where I played Ron Burgundy and went around, and I've just thrown myself into a lot of different things here. And then darned if it hasn't developed into something John can talk about this weekend, what we did for Google Glass in Medicine, and some things with School of Rock, the supplier community to do market research. It just holds so much opportunity. So I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm blasting it on too long and boring everybody. But it's just a space that, you know, you bend it and model it however you want to. You pull together a business model and say, let's test it. Let's see if it works. And, you know, I think what we're talking about doing up here is pretty fascinating. It's a great platform, and I appreciate all you guys for what you do.
Thank you, Jim.
I love that you mention your age, Jim, because I just find it so interesting that you follow the opportunity, and the opportunity led you where the technology is going, and you've always followed the opportunity. So and you always tell me, any of the conversations we have, you always tell me that you don't feel like you understand the technology very well, and if you want to, you look for the youngest person in the room. But obviously, you're ahead of quite a few people in understanding this technology,
Well,
because for a lot of people it's still new.
well, you got to realize that when I started out in business in 1971 in banking, I bought about 1973, I think it was. I bought a TI calculator with four functions and a percent key, and I thought I'd gotten a deal because at $100, because a friend of mine had paid 125 the week before, and then you can get them in a box of Cracker Jacks free now. So I mean, I've seen the evolution with the chips and all that. So to happen, I mean, it's stunning, and through my career to see what's happened. So these things that we're doing today, just right now, I mean, it would have cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, to be able to have this kind of platform. So the disruption that's going on in this space, and the kind of things we're talking about with Larry and John, I mean, it's remarkable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Last but never least, Annabelle Howard, how did you become Big Fun Education?
How did it happen? Well, it's a similar story to all the others that you've heard. It was a little bit random. I have two sons. One is, as you know, Alex, a comedian. He lives in New York City. He's a stand-up comedian, and the other one is 21. And as a mother, you got to stay in touch. And so part of the thing that I do is listen to their language. I'm a writer. I love words, and random was this kind of strange word that, as a mother, you don't want to hear that word too much. But I began to appreciate it, and I love it now. And my even being on here is random right now. And I think it's a good thing. I think because 30 minutes ago I was all set with my novel, and I'm working on the chapter 1 again on my novel, and then 30 minutes later here I am talking with you guys, which is brilliant.
Awesome.
I couldn't be happier. And then I hear people on Google Plus talking about open, random, and supportive, and that was kind of bizarre, seemed like a contradiction to me too. But it is what happens on here, and I really love it. I mean, how did I become Big Fun Education? Yeah, random. It started, decades ago in England, as you can probably hear, and just training to be one of those regular kind of dull teachers. No offense, Alex.
Cool.
Not all teachers are dull, but I was going to be dull, I think. And then, you find that you've fallen in love with an American, and suddenly, whoosh, you're in America, and then you've got to make that work. And there I was in an elementary school in New York City, and with a pile of dusty old boring books, and none of us wanted to look at those. So I thought, help, got to do something. The thing I love is theater, and I think kids don't get enough of it. I love kids having a voice, and that's what theater can do for you. It can give you voice and confidence and communication skills. So I started adapting plays for kids, and I've been doing it ever since. They were published. I left the school and ended up writing about 30 of them, created a board game that went with it. They sold across America, 10 other countries, got written up in the New York Times, International Herald Tribune. And then the clever thing was, and if there's one thing I would like to tell you, is if you create something, everything that you create, particularly in publishing, has a sort of a natural lifespan. You know, it's going to be really interesting for a little while. People are going to get used to it. People are going to do something better than that, and it's going to die. You know, it's how it is. There's sort of a life cycle. So if you can, in the contract, if you sell something, put that, you know, when you stop actively marketing this, all rights to this work will return to me. Because that's what I did when I sold my series. And I had no clue what I would be doing with it and if it would be worth anything. But I thought, if anyone should have it, if it's just on a shelf, it should be me. So lo and behold, in that time, along comes the internet. And so I started up a for-profit company to bring these paper plays and paper board game onto the internet. And so I started doing that, creating an online motivational community, which 70,000 kids in Connecticut were using. And then all of a sudden, everything changes again. The education cuts, just the budgets were decimated. So I created a non-profit, thinking I've got to have more doors to knock on. And you know, it's a constant improvisation. You know, so again, why I think everyone should do theatre, because it teaches you how to improvise. You just get thrown something on stage or in a situation or in real life, and you just have to accept it and keep going. And the people around you in an improv are trained also to accept that, to always be positive. You can't deny anybody else what they're saying on stage. You have to accept it, you build on it, and the rule is you make each other look good. And I just think that's a training for life. So what I've been doing is trying to live that. And so I got some grants, took one of these plays digital, worked beautifully. NBC came out to film it, a little story on it. And the NBC guy said, can I be in your next play? So he's in my next one that's coming out. He's Dan, the weatherman, and ABC news anchor here is going to be Newsy Susie. All of that random, didn't go looking for it. I wouldn't have had the nerve to ask for it. I'm very shy, don't like asking for things, don't like asking favors. It just starts rolling once you get out there. And as everybody here has said, once you start really committing to your passion, you're just unstoppable. Things just keep happening, and you just have to do the next thing and the next thing, and then there you are. So now with Google Plus, I'm meeting so many people. Larry really blew my mind open, because, you know, I don't know chefs. I'm not really good at cooking. I don't know anything. So what would we have in common? How could we communicate? Well, at that time I had a grant to take Macbeth's Social, the Shakespeare play, and I wanted to get as many kids as possible interested in that. I believe that you can get interested in a play from lots of different angles. Don't just have to start on page 1 and start plowing through it. You could think about it in this way. There's a feast in Macbeth. Oh, right, eating. What did they eat? And then in comes Larry to rescue me. So we got together. We had a lot of fun thinking about, what the heck did they eat? And we got another chef involved, Aslyn Bloor, who also homeschools her kids. So there was a double whammy thing there that was fantastic. We got a Yale School of Drama dramaturg to keep us all right, make sure we get our facts straight. And look at these random people cooperating and communicating and collaborating. That was wild. And I can't wait to do it again. You know, it was just really fun. So now that Macbeth Social is over, out of that came a very powerful one-on-one hangout I did with a kid in South Carolina, actually. And he was about to graduate. None of them really cared about Shakespeare. You know, they really didn't. Why would they? So I said to them, I did a series of hello hangouts, because I think when you collaborate, you need to say hello. You know, you don't just go blindly as if everyone cares about what you're saying. Like, hello, let's meet you a little bit. And so my way of saying hello to these kids was, what do you like doing when no one's telling you what to do? what has captured your imagination? What will you do if no one's paying you to do it? Could be. I think it's a great question.
It is.
I think we should all ask ourselves that. With this kid, I connected, and he told me voices. And I said, interesting, tell me more. He said, I'm a voice artist. I said, I love those words, but I still don't really know what you're talking about. So he said, right, you can have George Bush or Mickey Mouse. Then I knew he was kidding around with me. And as I said, my son's a comedian. I love it. I love playing around. So we're too serious too much of the time. So I said, right, that's a very difficult question. I said, right, give me a minute. All right, I want George Bush. And he went into this incredible performance, improv, in the voice of George Bush. Extraordinary. All the class was laughing. And at the end of it, I said to the teacher, do you think he really enjoyed that? She said, Annabelle, you have no idea. He really hasn't spoken much in school at all. This is probably the most he's spoken.
Well.
No one knew he liked to do other voices. So I said, right, this is powerful, this one-on-one stuff in the Hangouts. And I see a lot of people in education doing, you know, your classic stuff, like, you know, you're expert and your room full of kids being quiet. It's good, especially Google is doing it well in Connected Classrooms workshop. But I thought, right, let them do it. They're doing it really well. Let me try and think of this one-on-one thing, because the kids obviously like this thing of it being archived on YouTube. They like getting some more one-on-one attention. They like doing a bit more talking. So I've created this thing called Reading Without Borders, and we're trying to do one-on-one reading. Experts on G+, or just regular guys on G+ who like reading, partnering up with kids all over the world to do 20 minutes of reading and talking each week. And as a non-profit, I'm always faced with, fine, great, Annabelle, you know, but how are you going to live? You know, you've got to get a bit of money behind you on this. So, you know, it takes ages to write a grant, find the grant, write the grant, you know, on and on, keep your fingers crossed for 3 months. So you hear about all this crowdsourcing. Still not really into that yet. Don't know enough. Don't want to promise a whole lot of stuff that I can't deliver. It makes me anxious. So the other day when I was talking about Reading Without Borders, someone said to me, why don't you put it out there that companies can sponsor you to read a story and archive it, and it'll be brought to you by, you know, whoever, Calvin Klein or, you know, whatever, Amazon Books. That would be cool. Scholastic. And it would do everybody some good. You know, it would put the company out there as a company that cares about kids, cares about reading. It's a little toe in the water for the company that is nervous about Google+, doesn't really want to, it's a bit of a liability, not quite sure. Well, we tell you what book we're reading, you know, cut and dried, very simple. And so we thought we're just about to do that. We haven't done it yet, but we thought maybe we could sort of microfinance. And I'll tell you what I think's great for the non-profit on Google and in all this social media space is that when you give to a non-profit, you're never quite sure where that money's going. You know, yeah, they got this track record, but where did my dollars go? What did you do with that?
Right.
I really want to get a sense of it in a micro way, like not just big budgets and, you know, stuff. I want to see what you do really on a day-to-day. So I think this, like that Reading Without Borders, you give us $100, we'll read you we'll do a good night story in any language you like. We'll find someone on Google Plus to read it in Ukrainian. I found someone the other day. Fantastic. We're going to do Goodnight Moon in 200 languages. And every night your kid can listen to it in another story and you'll see who's brought this to you. So they'll see what we're doing. And then the other thing that I'm continuing with, and I have a grant from a regional bank here in New England, I'm in Connecticut. They're giving me a grant to do 2 more plays, you know, after Macbeth. I'm doing now for kindergarten, first, second, third. And I thought, oh, I think it was John actually who made me realize that when you archive one of these things on YouTube, you can download the audio. That's big for me because I'm creating digital plays. So I thought, right now, what I can do is give the kids a behind the scenes look at how do we create one of these digital plays. Because we'll do the reading in a Hangout and they'll see that, oh, the same guy is doing two voices. That's funny. I thought it was two people. No, not. You'll see us give direction to them. Yeah, they're professionals. Yeah, they're actors, but they need direction. That's cool. That's a cool message to get out to the kids. And it's not a message that you're told. It's a message that you see. You know, that what you see is so much more valuable because you take it in with your own eyes. They read it 3 times. They're not annoyed. They don't say, I've already read that. They read it again. They try it a different way. There are lots of ways to do things. So they're going to see all that. And furthermore, the play, and I'll end there, but the play that I'm doing is, I wrote this little 10-minute play about the Owl, the Pussycat, and I call it The Poetic Detectives. And I want it, it's a British play, I want British voices. Of course I want British voices. And don't know enough British people on Google Plus myself. So I just thought, I can, no, that's what you can't do. So I thought, right, I'll really be gutsy here and I'll put out this is what you can do on here. You throw it out and you throw out your idea, and if it doesn't fly, it doesn't fly. There's a million more posts come by, don't worry about it. But if it does fly, imagine that. So I put out this thing, casting call, wanted 6 British voices. Do you know, within 24 hours, I had that thing cast with professional actors. And I have somebody who was in the movie Calendar Girls, who's been in Doctor Who, as time goes by. Unbelievable. And they're actually making the stretch to do this with me. I can't believe it. So in a couple of months, we're going to do that. It's going to be Hangout Theatre. And I've got, 28 plays to do. So we can do a whole series of these things. And people, funders, will see what I'm doing. It's legit. We're really on here. I'm really using that money and time well. So I think for nonprofits, and I call that sort of process marketing as opposed to content marketing, you can really see what we do, how we build something that will engage kids. Yeah, I think nonprofits have got a fantastic tool here as well as the straightforward for-profit.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you're totally right. My concern with nonprofits, and tell me if I'm wrong, Annabelle, is that a lot of times they don't catch on to the technology stuff as fast because they generally don't have the funding that larger businesses do.
Right, right. Yeah, so there's probably a business out there in helping nonprofits, business to be had in specializing in helping nonprofits make the most of it. Yeah, I mean, the great thing about being on the cutting edge is that I think I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist. I hate getting things wrong. But since no one's ever done it, it's like, well, can't be expected to get it all right, can I? That's great. It's a really nice feeling to get, just try things out.
That's true. That's true. So you all mentioned something that I think is important, and I told Larry I'd come back to it, so I'm coming back to it. You all mentioned this idea of building relationships, whether it's between brands and nonprofits or between individuals. Is that what you would say is changing the most in business today with this new technology, the communication that it offers, or do you think that there's something else to be said in that? Is it not just the building relationships? Is it we'll start.
Let who? Sorry.
Oh, you. Go ahead.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Actually, I want to, I'm looking at your students there, and I wonder for them, is this they're in college? What is the best thing that they got out of college? And guys, where do you see what you're going to be doing, after college? Where does that lie? Because, and the reason why I'm asking you is, when you're thinking about your next job, are you thinking about the person that you need to call to hook you up with that job at Google? Or are you thinking about the uncle or the aunt who can hire you? Because if you are, that's relationship. So when you're looking at your future, what are you looking, how are you thinking of building it? Of course, your degree is just a paper. How are you going to go and make that happen for real in the world?
That's a good question. Guys? Thoughts?
It's the people that I meet throughout my lifetime, actually. Because I'm in the military, so I go a lot of different places and meet a lot of new people. So I'm not really very savvy on going like on Google Plus or Instagram or any type of social media. But due to my military background, I meet a lot of different people from a lot of different places. So that's how.
So you were saying it's the relationship, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I build my relationships on people that I meet through the military.
So Alex, does that answer your question? If it's all about relationships?
Yeah, it kind of does, but now you got me curious. Kyle?
I say a lot of the same things. Like I've built a lot of really good connections. I know a lot of really well-connected people now as a result of my time in college, and I'm not banking on that to get me a job after school, but I know it's going to help. I'll at least have people I can go back to and talk to if I need help with something, and maybe they do give me a job. Who knows? A couple of their parents own very large companies.
So it's actually like building relationships with other students
I think my
to get to their
degree's actually
parents.
pretty much worthless except for showing my employer, hey, I got this sort of an education. Otherwise, it's nothing. It's all the people I've met, all the stupid little things I've learned how to survive in life.
Interesting. All right. I'm getting worried about my position. He's saying the education here isn't really what mattered. It is the relationships that he built and the little things that he learned in life. So, yes, he thought that does answer my question. But I'm curious about other responses. Do you think that new technology is helping us build these relationships, or do you think that, I mean, Gerald mentioned that he doesn't really rely on social media so much because he built his relationships through the military and all of the different people that he meets face to face.
So what's interesting about that is that we naturally gravitate towards people who have the same interests that we do. So I forgot your name, but in the military, right? So you're connecting with people who are doing the same things that you're doing, and you found that in the military. What Google Plus gives us is the opportunity to meet people with the same passion, regardless of where they are. Larry's in Trinidad. Annabelle, I don't know where you are. Jimmy's somewhere in the US. Connecticut. So we are able to talk to people who share the same passion and actually build a company together, build services, connect, collaborate, connect other people to other people. So right now you are looking at the military, that's very physical, and very small and narrow. But if you're looking at worldwide, and this is where the technology takes you, it allows you to have relationship and working relationship with anyone in the world. So your market is really limitless. Before it was just your neighborhood, your city, your town. Now it's the world. And if you love, I always go to underwater basket weaving. If that's your passion, there are probably 10 people in the world who like that. And they probably know another 10 people in the world who like that. And you have your own thing. Yeah, so that's the value I see in Google Plus and the technology. It's this eye-to-eye connection that we're making with each other.
Yeah, and I think Hangouts has a lot to do with that too, because we have all met virtually. I have not. The only person I've met in real life is John Ellis, and just as he was in a Hangout, he was the exact same way in real life. So it wasn't like, wow, I meet him for the first time. It was like we carrying on the conversation that we ended in the Hangout. We're now doing it in real life. So the relationships that you build here, even though it's virtual, it's more, I think personally, it's a more in-depth one, because through Hangouts, we're able to see each other, see the nuances in each other's eyes and faces. When we make a statement, we could see their reaction. So it's like being in that person's space, but not. And when you meet that person for the first time in real life, it's like old friends. And I'll be honest, I mean, this sounds a little hokey, but the people who have met on here, I have a better relationship than the people I have in real life. Strange as it may sound, but that is the truth.
Yeah,
So,
I think, yeah, I would go along with everything you guys are saying and say that, this, and especially Google Plus it's really a platform for relationships, not for transactions. You know, the, there's a book, I use Seth Godin's Guru of Marketing a lot in my classes, and he wrote a book called Tribes, that everybody out there in the world has a tribe that's just waiting for them to show up and lead them. And so, which means that everybody has a purpose and a passion, and they've got a tribe that wants them to lead them in that passion. And so the thing with Facebook is that Facebook's where your friends are, the people you know. Google Plus is where those people you want to get to know are, and who are members of your tribe and leaders of a tribe you want to be a part of. And so, like Larry said, I mean, we've got the opportunity to really create some really phenomenal relationships. I mean, like I said, in September, I didn't know anybody on this space, and I started making some comments on some posts by some pretty influential people out there, and darned if they didn't engage with me, and I was stunned. So you begin to, and there's a trust level that really comes. I mean, David talks about, Amerlin talks about, it's relationship and authority and trust. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, you've got to be consistent in where you are. And I'm really so happy to see this, because business today is moving much more towards a relationship orientation, because my wife teaches 8th grade science, and they teach so much about collaboration, and that with technology enabling it, whether you're using Trello as a platform for project management, or Google Plus to be able to have a quick hangout, come in, make a decision. It's kind of like management while wandering around. I mean, that people are out there, and you learn.
Uh-oh.
I think you froze.
Summer.
That you create, if you can create that kind of a relationship, transactions can follow, not always, but you do that, and they just kind of evolve. And that's what's happened with John and Larry and me. Alex, what you guys did in the School of Rock program, I mean, y'all created a relationship with a School of Rock based on the fact that, their people trusted what you had to do. You performed, you came through, and so they want to do more with you. And it's all about doing the right. It's kind of like references. Keep doing better than what you're committed to do. You develop a relationship, and then they help lead you into that next project you can. But those people who are strict, it's about it's really, business is really about transactions within relationships these days, I think. And so you can't, if you don't have a transaction, you're going to eventually starve out. You've got to have some revenues. But if you can start by giving first, to do what I call conduit marketing, to be able to, work with people, get in trust with somebody who has 200, 300, 500 contacts. If they know what it is you're trying to do, and they trust you that you're not going to embarrass them, if they introduce you to a friend, they will do so. And it's what they call about the ultimate question, which is, will that customer of yours introduce you to a friend or acquaintance of theirs to be a new customer? And that's really putting personal capital on the line, and that's all about relationships.
That's interesting. I was going to ask you, because you do teach business classes, if relationships are becoming more of a component in your personal view. Are they becoming more important to business? Because I don't you guys still teach? Is it like the four P's or something?
Yeah, and the 4 Ps go back to the 50s and 60s and the Mad Men era and all that. But it's gone, because of all the ways that push marketing, whether it's television, TiVo can block it and time shift to another place, and you can get rid of ads. Just your telephone. I mean, call. You can see who's calling. Every way that the traditional marketing push, high intensity, high level marketing have worked in the past no longer work. So it's all about being able to establish this kind of a trust. And I mean, I don't want to go off. I can give you an hour sermon on that in class, but I don't want to do that. But you're right, Alex. I mean, you just really need to develop these relationships, because otherwise, I mean, if you really take a look at it, your market these days is much, much more targeted than it is. I mean, and that's good. You've got to be focused and targeted. And then if that market discovers, okay, John, I'll quit. Yeah, you were waving like, I mean, we had a universal sign about timeout or Tanzan, or you're on a tangent or whatever. But so anyway, yeah, okay. But anyway, so I'll just kind of wrap it up with this. But you really want to be able to create things that cause people to want to do that next deal with you. And if you do something that goes against people, you're not going to do business. I mean, people are very respectful on Google Plus. I'm stunned.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, again, I can wonder, and I'm like John and Larry. I mean, we've had a busy weekend, and I babble when I get tired, and obviously I'm tired. Always feel free to ask that question again if I wandered off the subject.
Alex, can I tell a little thing that happened to me where I pitted one social platform against the other day? It was just an experiment. There's a thing called circle count, and it tells you for the people who've opted into it, and there's, I don't know what, 24 million or something who've chosen to be in it. It tells you where you're ranked, by the area and by gender. So I think I'm something like, I don't know, 530th in female in North America, something like that. And I thought, well, yeah, that sounds all right, but can't think really what that means. Just didn't think about it too much. And then the other day, someone said on LinkedIn, oh, as a non-profit, if you watch this webinar, you can get free premium subscription. So I thought, all right, I'll do that. Well, this flipping thing wouldn't work. I put it in, it went on the calendar, I waited for it, it gave me back an error message. I was so aggravated. So anyway, I went back to LinkedIn and I said, I don't usually get like this, but I just thought, well, let's give it a try. By the way, you should know, I'm ranked, and whoa, I got people coming in. Oh, madam, we absolutely, of course, I'm so sorry. And they set this thing, oh, we don't even want you to re-enter your name. We'll do that for you. We'll send you an email and tell you when the next one is. Oh, and if you have any problem, here's a link, should it send any error message next time? So I thought, wow, so this thing called Google Plus is actually doing something for me in the real world on another platform now. So yeah, LinkedIn respects Google Plus.
That's interesting. That's good to know. Maybe I should do more with my LinkedIn now that I think about it.
I think all these platforms, I don't think it's an either or. I mean, I really envy the kids these days for having Facebook, because there are kids that I'm coming up on a big reunion from my high school, and all the ones that I wanted to see aren't coming. All the really interesting people, they're not coming. And I thought, oh, if only I'd been on Facebook, if only we'd had that, I'd be in touch with these people who I really liked, but I lost touch. So you're very lucky, those relationships that you have, through Facebook, they may seem kind of, people might minimize it or trivialize it to you right now, but in 20 years, it might be very nice for you to look up and go, wow, I knew that guy when he was, 18 or 20, whatever it was, and now it just happens he's in the same field, or he lives in the same area, or whatever it is. So Facebook can prove to be extremely valuable, I think. I think the kids are really lucky to have it.
Yeah, most of my students don't even use Facebook. A lot of them are Snapchat. That's the new thing, Snapchat.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really they communicate. They can communicate in just pictures. It's just fascinating to me. It opens up a whole new world of research.
It's better than communicating with hashtags, right?
That's true. That's true. I actually do that in text messages. Not gonna lie. Put like hashtag truth. Can't help it. Can't help it.
And you plus mention in there, I expect.
I have tried to do that in Facebook. I've caught myself doing it, putting like plus and then a name, and I'm like, oh, wrong platform. My bad. We are coming up on an hour. So this is probably going to be a really hard question. It would be a really hard question for me to answer. So you're welcome. If there's any advice that you could give my students going into the business world today, what would it be? Whoever
Jim,
has
Jim would be the best suited for that.
Who?
Jim.
Jim. Okay. We'll start with Jim.
Well, that's right, and you're exactly right. We'll get in that case, Yvette's going to be going last, and Alex, you guys will, and Annabelle. I tell you what, the thing I would say to you guys is listen for frustration. I mean, when you hear somebody complain about something, there's an opportunity out there. If you can figure out a way to be able to introduce that person to someone who can solve their problems, you've created a favor, you've created a relationship, and that's what stimulates opportunity. So, to me, just keep your ears open and find. It's okay when people gripe, because that means you can potentially create value out of it.
That's a good answer. Maybe we should move to Annabelle, just because you're next to Jim for me. What would be your one piece of advice for my students going into business or in the nonprofit sector?
Oh, I know. Just be yourself. Be yourself times 10. Just work at being more and more and more yourself.
Aw, I really like that.
Yeah, persona is a little bit of yourself. I think we all have a little bit of a persona. I think I'm personaing right now a little bit, but little bit. But the more I can be myself, the better it is. I feel better. When you feel better when you're really being yourself, you know what it is. Yeah. Sometimes you have to put it on a little bit. I mean, we're all in different social situations from different age groups. You've got to watch your language or your references to things, or you've got to adapt. You've got to be appropriate. When I speak with 5-year-olds, I'm not speaking the same way that I'm speaking now. But we've all got we're multifaceted, and at any given moment, I'm not completely myself, but in the whole, at the end of the day, I feel like I've been myself. It feels better. So I would just really be as much of yourself, and then try and be more of yourself than ever. It's gonna lead you to the right people, to the right places, to the right activities.
Absolutely. Yifat?
First, I really want to second what both Jim and Annabelle have said, because one, I just met a guy who, remember when Facebook changed the layout and they had their banners like become so big and everyone was complaining about it. So he went and found all the complaints and just created a slicer that makes those cover banners like very easy, gave it away for everybody for free. And then people came to him and said, oh my God, this is a life-saving app, but it will be great if it did this, this, and this. And this, and this became the pro version. He now makes like 10 grand a month from that stuff. So what Jim said, listening to the complainers is an awesome advice. Find the complainers and then know that you don't need to know the solution, you just need to know someone who knows. So if you can work with other people, like don't go and learn programming all of a sudden, but you have an idea, someone who can help you make that happen, now you have a little team and you can do that together. So The one thing that I would tell you is don't jump into partnerships. After I told you find the people who can make it, but don't jump into partnerships that can lock you in with your ideas and basically suck the creative juice out of all of you. You can do a lot of things yourself. There's a lot of great things that you can do collaboration-wise, like what we're doing here. But just know that you can make it happen. And if you are doing something that you love, then you're gonna make it happen. Tenacity always wins. So that's it. My 2 cents.
Definitely worth more than 2 cents. Don't worry. And finally, Larry, your advice.
Well, since we are running dangerously close on time, I would have to echo what three of my colleagues have said. Um, listen for frustration, be yourself, and follow your passion.
Awesome. Sums it up perfectly.
Yep.
Yep. That's what You're welcome. All right. Well, this was the finale for season 2 of Blast in the Class. I am hoping to have a season 3, but we'll see how much energy and time Alex has next semester. It doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot, to be honest. But thank you so much, Annabelle Howard, Jim Shankle, Larry Fournillier, and Yvette Cohen for coming in and talking to my students about business and where it's going and what you've been through in it, because I think it's really important for them to understand what they're going to be getting themselves into after college.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely a different world. At least it was for me. All right, so of course you can find everybody on Google Plus that was talking today, and if there are any questions out there, you can always leave it in the comments, and we'll always return to it later. John, you want to take us out?